right, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is an episode that I've been trying to get done for a very long time, and I'm very happy to
Yeah,
finally get it done to sit down and talk to this gentleman, Mr.
yeah, phone
Richard.
tag, brother.
Yeah,
Phone tag.
exactly. Mr. Richard Sartain, formerly
Yes, sir.
Deep South Wrestling with the Rock and Roll Rebels, correct? That was the tag team,
Yes,
or
sir.
yep. And
Tag
then
team
of
champions.
yes, sir. And then
They
of
have a
course.
they have personators down there at the moment, which I'm gonna get a hold of Mr. Nick Patrick and explain that to him when I
Uh,
can.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
Of course, one half of the infamous ding dongs in
Uh,
WCW.
I, I thought that was in that contract I read. We weren't gonna mention that part.
I got to tell you, dude, that's grown up to have a gigantic cult following. That
You
gimmick,
you
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 know.
gonna cut that later, right? Oh man, I
So
appreciate your time, man. And it did take us a while, but I do my homework. You can't never tell in this business who you're
yeah,
talking to, and
right.
you're a credible guy. And to your fans, this man checks out. He's the deal,
Well, thank you
and I
very much.
appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much. We're here to keep the history of professional wrestling
That
alive,
man, don't we
and
need to? Don't we
yeah,
need to? Because it don't
yeah.
resemble it too much anymore. You know.
No, it's a very hard thing to watch
You know.
these days. Do you watch today at all?
I don't. Not like uh, it, they're talented. I mean,
Hmm.
they're amazing athletes. I mean, man, but how long's it been since you've seen a hammerlock or take a guy to the mat? Uh, no mat work. You don't
No.
see it. You see people jumping off the top of a building. They're pretty tough. But uh, I don't even a drop kick. You just don't see.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fell. Sports entertainment now. So it's fell more into the entertainment. And I understand that. You got to put butts in the seats, as they say. But I don't know. I miss the old territories, the old wrestling. Look at my favorite, of course, the Assassins and 2-1 wrestling. And Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express. Tag teams. And you don't see tag work. You don't see wrestling. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's different. One thing I always
Yeah.
say when I'm talking to somebody about professional wrestling is like, when's the last time you saw an abdominal stretch? It's like,
I ain't thought of
it's
that one.
like yeah,
Man, you'd confuse them if you called it. You
yeah,
know,
right, right.
I think he's shooting on me. Yeah,
So
bless him.
let's get into a little bit about your history and stuff like that. Did you play sports growing up at all or anything like that?
Here's the funny story, man. You won't believe this. When I was in high school, of course, I think there was about three guys, maybe smaller than me. But after school, I started to grow a little bit. About the time I started wrestling independent in Alabama, I really started growing a little bit. Now, as an old man, I'm starting to shrink a little bit. I pre-warn your audience that my dog has spotted her cat. So that's kind of crazy, isn't it? But my dog's got a cat. They don't live here. No, I was too small, man. I went out.
Yeah,
I done the football thing and everything else, basketball thing, and we didn't back then. Believe it or not, man, where I live, we didn't have a high school baseball team. None of that was even. That was ridiculous. We never even thought of that. I guess, but and the rest of the stuff seemed like every time I got up, he knocked me back down, man. What was up with that?
right. Yeah, yeah. So when did you discover professional wrestling? Were you a fan growing up before
Oh
you
man,
decided to got
big
into it?
time.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm from Alabama, baby.
yeah.
And welcome to the great state, my friend. Uh, Chattanooga, Tennessee is like 45 minutes from where I live, and back then it was a guy named Harry Thornton. I don't know if you're familiar with that
Yes,
outfit,
sir.
but it was
Yep.
The Fargo brothers.
Hmm.
The Mask Interns, Tommy Rich, of course. And my boy Gordy, uh, which I miss. He wasn't probably about 16-year old, and he worked that territory as well. But yeah, man, my granddaddy would leave Stevenson, Alabama. Seemed like we'd leave 12 o'clock that day, because he drove about 30 mile an hour where we went, with a truckload of kids. He'd take us to the shows up there. So yeah, I was a big fan, man. Big fan. I had the cardboard belt, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when did you decide to get trained into the sport, or decide to make that what you wanted to
I'd
do?
say,
And did was it Jody Hamilton that trained you, or
oh
uh
no,
no? Who trained you?
at the time I was, man, this is embarrassing to even say. I drove down to this place where I heard they had a show, and twice before I even got the nerve up to get out of the car. And finally ended up writing the guy a letter, and somehow he got it. But it's an independent show that you believe still in business to this day, and that's 40 years ago, man. And they're still running Saturday night shows. And I trained there, and there's some guys that used to work for Jody, and Dirty White Boy, Jimmy Powell, Chance Meyer. Some of them would go do shows for Jody. And they kept trying to get me to come over and come over, come over. I never made it, and finally I did one day, and I worked the Rebels, uh, Greg and another guy, and but when I seen Greg at night, I said this before on a show. I said that when I saw Greg at night, I said, well, if I'm gonna make it in this business, me and that guy kind of resembles styles and size and everything, and that'll be my way. And a couple of weeks later, somehow Jody, I guess, read my mind, and I did start going and working with Greg when I went babyface. Came in as a heel, but and when everything else I accomplished it with Greg. So
Right.
and he got a big chance to be a fireman, paramedic in Atlanta, which he retired, and we thank you, Greg, for your service. And when he left, I just kind of faded on because I worked 3 years carrying. I always say this, carrying him like a book bag for 3 years and I wasn't going to go through it again with somebody else. And as a single wrestler, I didn't have the size, the shape, the looks. I mean, I didn't have any of that you needed, and
Right.
so I knew I wasn't going to make it as a single. So I just gradually, I stayed longer than Greg, but I gradually done a couple of independent shows, maybe, and a few more WCW shows, and I just worked my way on out of it,
Right.
and when I quit, I quit.
Then the other guy that you're referring to is John Michaels teamed up with Greg Evans as part of the Rock and Roll Rebels.
Yeah,
That's what I.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it may be.
Yeah.
I only worked him once, and
Hmm.
I think he kind of read the. You know more about it than I do, brother.
Hey,
Well, which
I
is
did my
not.
research. I told you I did my
He's
research.
still not impressing me because that's not much, just because you know more than I do.
So that's how you pretty much how you hooked up with Greg Evans
Yeah,
through
through
that.
Jody working there, and first I pulled angle with Buddy Lee Parker, Dwayne Bruce,
Hmm.
uh, for the United States junior title, and you believe they robbed me out of it? I was 3 pounds overweight, weighed me on TV on the scales, the whole 9 yards, man, and I was too fat to be a junior champion. So they converted me to a tag team with Greg, and I was proud of that. Yeah, that was my thoughts from day one, anyway. So
Right.
we all agreed, which rarely happens in this sport. But,
Yeah, no, I actually did not know that Dwayne Bruce worked there until
oh
somewhat
yeah,
recently because I was doing I got into, one of those, what are they called? The rabbit hole when you're on YouTube and you're just watching a bunch of stuff,
right,
and I was going through watching some Eric Embry footage. You remember Eric Embry from
yeah,
World Class USWA?
sure.
And it was when he was a world class junior heavyweight champion. He went over to Deep South and defended the belt against Dwayne Bruce. And
Oh
that's
really?
two
I'm not
guys I,
saw it.
yeah, I mean, I was like, that's two guys I really enjoyed watching throughout my,
Yeah, man,
since
yeah.
my childhood, and I'm still a huge Eric Embry fan to this day.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and to see that match that I never knew existed, man, I was like
I
in my
I didn't
glory.
I didn't see it, but I tell you what, Dwayne, we went. You're familiar with the term Broadway?
Yes,
Well, we went Broadway. And if you want to work, you get that little old Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker in the ring for a Broadway match, and they forget about you. And you'll be sucking some air there in about 30 minutes, because and Jody said he wanted mat work.
yeah,
And when Jody spoke, he listened. He wanted mat work, and that's what we gave him, man. And we didn't do a high spot one, and we reversed everything you could reverse, man. And man, that little bulldog like killed me, man. I ain't never worked so hard in my life. And me and Buddy, we talk a lot,
Yeah.
and we still laugh about that, man. It wasn't funny at the time, but old Sarge is a tough little cookie, man. And he took over the school uh, for Jody, which was power plant, for WCW.
Right.
So,
Yep.
he took that over. But yeah, Dwayne was there, man. It was and all kind of, that's where I met Terry Gordy at my first time, which we're proud to be called a friend back in. And they would bring in Big Nat Randy Rose, man. I speak to him often too. It's my boy right there, old Randy. And I was telling him the other day on Facebook that I was thinking about pulling another angle here and from a friend down at Still Runs Boaz, Alabama. And Randy said, don't do it. You're hurt enough, which I just put, you can't see it, but I just put ice on my knee and wrapped it up. And, had the back surgery, had the whole 9 yards done,
Jeez.
and I don't feel no better than when they started cutting on me.
Right. Right. Uh, you just mentioned Randy Rose. Of course, Randy Rose from
Yeah.
the original version of the Midnight Express.
Yes,
Of
sir.
course, came back in 1988 to do NWA and
Yes.
WCW, and
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Uh,
and I got to tell you, that's one worker that just doesn't get enough credit these days, and
no, sir.
I've
And
been
sir,
trying to get him as part of this show for a couple years, and to interview him, and I'd really like to get him on the
can I
show at
jump in
some
for
point.
you? Can I
I
jump
mean,
in for you?
you could yell at him and tell
Uh,
him I'm looking for him. So
I'll do it, man. I got you.
so
I got you.
so so
He's
oh
supposed to be my boy. We'll see if he is or not, right? But
how did
hey, Randy, we worked at, there was a tournament for
mhm,
the heavyweight strap at Deep South when Randy came into work. And Randy sat me down. I will never forget when somebody like Randy sets you down, he said, "What's the matter, kid?" He said, "We don't get nothing done. I watch you work, man." And he was putting me over big, telling me, good things, And he said, "But when we're in the ring, we just don't seem to get nothing done." And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, "You're Randy Blanken Rose, man," So yeah, I knew who he were, and after that moment, oh, we had some good matches, After I realized, hey, his heart's right, So I need to straighten up and do right,
yeah,
But
yeah. How did WCW discover you and Greg and bring you guys in? And
well,
what was your reaction to
uh, ooh,
them giving you the gimmick that they were giving you? Of course, I'm talking about the ding dongs.
well, if you'll notice some of the old on YouTube, some old matches at WCW,
Hmm.
my hair was longer,
Hmm.
and uh, after you see the hair get short, we're already working both ways. We're doing the gimmick and ourselves. We'd work twice the night sometimes.
Right,
And there would none of this stuff here like we're doing existed, So, the word went out that, same guy that got squashed the opening match just dropped a pretty knee off the top rope, and yeah, so but Jody Hamilton again, I make no bones about it. I never would have got ink one. I never would have got no recommendation without Jody Hamilton. He was, had the Deep South running, and
right,
he took a booking job at WCW. And when he did, he brought Nick, of course, and four or five of us over, and we started doing spot shows with him. But that was just ourselves, And when this gimmick came available, uh, I guess you know again, Jody, made it happen, So, uh, but it wasn't much difference in watching. We never got stupid enough. There wasn't much difference in watching uh, Ding and Dong as they were watching Evans and Sartain. We
right,
it was the same moves. I mean, we done the same thing. Until there at the end, we started stretching it a little bit, getting a little sillier. But
right.
it's just, we was talking about mat work and stuff in the beginning. It's hard to make it transition from the seriousness of what you love into ringing a dang bell. I mean, it's just it's a don't sound like much, but it's a big leap. And
Right.
uh, we weren't successful at doing it at all, which we weren't there to be successful. We was there as an enhancement team to build superstars, and I think that we did a good job. They still talk about how stupid it was, but me and you're talking 40 years later, so it must not have been too stupid.
Well, like I said, it's you guys are an infamous tag team at
It,
the beginning of the show, but
it,
you're still
it
very
won't
well
die.
known. Yeah,
It
yeah,
won't die.
yeah. I mean, it's rumors are that Jim Herd, created the gimmick and absolutely loved it. And did you guys ever actually interact with Jim Herd?
I have
And
never met. I've never
no,
met the man in my life, but yes, I've heard the same story.
yeah,
And when they brought us to the WCW's offices in Atlanta, they suited us. Man, this was a secret. I mean, they
yeah,
could say anything they want to about it, but we had no idea what they was fixing to put us in. We had
right,
no idea. But uh, I've said before, when you're under a bulldozer in Stevenson, Alabama, and can't get a track to fit right, and you get a call from a guy you worked for at Deep South telling you they got you a job, you get out from under the bulldozer and you go get on that airplane, brother, and you take it. You don't ask a lot of questions about it. But they gave us no information. The first show live from Fort Bragg, the Clash of Champions, a big show, and it was that was a debut of them. I mean, that's a good place to bring us out for the first time, isn't it? At a place like our
yeah.
Army base, how amazing. But come to find out, we had missed the office. We had missed the night before. Uh, they was paying us very good money back in like '87, I guess it
This
was.
is 89, 1989.
89.
Yeah,
They was paying. Yeah, I started about '87. I wasn't in the
yeah.
business long when this happened. When they're paying you back then in '89, $500 a week to stay at home and not get hurt, uh, that's what I was doing. And Jody called, man. I'll never forget him. Bless his heart. You didn't want that man mad at you, regardless of what he was doing for you. You just didn't want to be on his bad side. But he called and he said, "Where are you at, kid?" And I'm like, "Man, you called me. You know where I'm at." He said, "You know where you're supposed to have been last night?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "How about St. Louis?" And I said, "No, Jody, I didn't know." He said, "You ever call the office?" I'm like, "No, Ted Turner sent me a check once a week for $500. Why in the hell would I want to call the office? I don't want to make nobody mad. But come to find out, we missed the first show, which would have been good because that was the first time we was to see the gimmick. And
Right.
people don't realize that we saw it the first time y'all saw it.
So when they
we,
gave you all the bells, the bracelet bells, and for the anklets, that's the
no,
first time you had seen any of that stuff. And
yes.
were you like, pardon my language, were you like, what the fuck is going on here, or anything
You
like
know,
that?
the silly part is, and it really didn't all go together, at the
Right,
time. But they told me to make. I made them bells. Okay, I
right.
still got a set, but I made them, and they were sewed together with fishing string, and but it didn't really register, none of this came together. It was a well kept secret to even us,
Hmm.
so they did it well, but we had no idea. And hey, I give Jim Hurd all the praise in the world because I think he was a genius. Because, like I said, close to 4 decades later, me and you're still talking about it.
You
So
might want to be one of the very few people that think that about Jim Hurd, really, because a lot of people talk about how bad some of his ideas were, and he was very no, we're doing it. Like he wanted. That's the reason why Flair left. You know what I mean? And it was like because he wanted to change him into Spartacus or whatever
I,
it was. You
yeah,
know?
I heard. Oh, you said no, I ain't heard that one. I heard about the hunchback. Oh,
Yes.
that
Yeah. Yep.
that would, it's like a bear. People talking about. He tell me, you hear, boy, when you are ex wrestler, you hear all kind of stories about how these people used to wrestle and they beat the bear, and the bear was a bear's a hunchback too. You couldn't pin a bear if you wanted to. Not to mention he'd kill you, and you hear a lot of stuff, don't you? It's
Yeah.
amazing. But
Yeah.
no, I hadn't heard the Spartacus thing, man.
Yeah, he wanted him to change his haircut. He was going to come out like a gladiator or type stuff, and he was like, "Forget this." And that's when
Yeah,
he jumped over to WWF at that time period. And between that time and the was it the year or 2 years that he was in WWF, Hurd had left or got fired, whatever it was, and Flair was unhappy in WWF and wanted to go back to WCW. So, and he was way more happier, I guess,
yeah.
working
Well,
working there.
he
Yeah,
should be. You know,
yeah,
he's Ric Flair. You know how you can't knock him too bad, but I mean, he's Ric Flair.
yeah.
Rick was he had took the book, and he's a no nonsense type worker.
Hmm.
And and he didn't, he didn't like the gimmick a bit, and we didn't. What nobody seems to realize is we did not like the gimmick,
Right,
and I like it more today than I did then. You know, when I got to work like opening match or something as myself, uh, and the guys, I got more than a lot of people would, that was just there to do a job, because I mean, they realized the hell I was going to go through later on that night. I mean, so it was good times, though, man. One of them you wouldn't take nothing for, but you
right,
don't really want to do it again. And the night that the skyscrapers took the hoods, uh, I had a conversation with Rick, and I told him that, if anything in the future, you can use me for, because let me, Jody knows how to get a hold of him. And he said, wait, kid, you're not getting fired. And, I've told this before. I said, where I come from, your brother, I'm Rick. Where I come from, if they're squashing you, you're fired. But it just meant he was squashing the gimmick, and it's
yeah,
supposed to have been a show that was in the black. But now through the greatness of the internet, it's out there. Uh,
right,
but it wasn't shown like on, say, Saturday Night Main Event or something.
right,
It was in the can. I'm sorry, I called it black. It was in the can. But so they wasn't killing us, and that if you don't see a lot of us when they take the hoods off,
right.
that was by design. To not really squash us. But
Yeah, I
when Greg left, I considered it squashed anyway.
yeah, I have a question regarding that. And when you guys got squashed by the skyscrapers, obviously Mike Shaw, Norman the Lunatic came out, took your mask and put it on and walked off. Do you remember that part of that happening? Do you remember anything much about Mike Shaw at all, Norman the Lunatic?
Uh, I hadn't had a lot of conversation with him, but
Right.
now Sid was my boy. We
Yeah.
got along good.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Norman that well, and I didn't know it even about the mask till I saw it on YouTube. I
Right.
didn't know he had it, which I like to have back, because it went for pretty good money the other day at K&S WrestleFest.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
uh,
Yeah. I
Greg
want
had Greg
to.
had everything but the mask, and he got real good money out of that uniform, and uh, uh, but
Yeah, I want to backtrack just a little bit. We
go
talked
ahead.
about your debut at the Clash of the Champions. Now, your opponents were George South and Cougar J.
Yes.
Uh, Tell me about working with both those guys. Obviously,
Oh,
George South is a legend in
oh man.
professional wrestling, and he worked with literally everybody over the years. They would put him up against everybody, whether it was NWA, WCW, WWF.
Yeah.
Cougar J I actually had on the show about 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, he was just coming off, like, he had cancer, and he was just kind
No.
of going through recovery and stuff like that. And
Good,
I
brother.
tell you, man, he is such a nice guy. But I know that
Yeah, oh
he's been
gosh. Yeah.
going through a little bit of. I think some of them might have come back, and he was kind of going back in and out of the
Sure.
hospital. But I'll tell you, a hell of a guy, great guy to have a conversation with, and that guy really opened up about his career, even though it was
Good
pretty
guy.
short, similar, pretty short, just like
Sure.
yours. But what are your
Good
memories of
guy.
working those two guys there?
And South, you listen. Step away from the work for a second, man, because
Sure.
I dropped the ball here a lot of times. You would see George South over by his bag, Nelton Pryor.
Hmm.
and doing that with us bunch of idiots,
Right.
uh, it registered, and it still does. And I finally got to see George after 30 years in Charlotte, North Carolina, at a uh, signing, and uh, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and I've told him more than once what that meant, and I finally got to make it up with him, So,
Right.
but and him and they said I read something George posted the other day. Matter of fact, talking about Flyer said he was his favorite person to beat, and George is still he's still working,
Oh yeah, he is.
yeah,
He was.
he
I was watching him just a couple
yeah,
months ago. He was holding the belt in the NAWA, which is down in North Carolina.
yeah,
I watch that television every so
right,
often. So it's
okay.
to see him continuing to work. It's just incredible. A guy that his age, you know.
Man, kind of not let, and if anything better, which he was hard to beat then, and
Yeah.
uh, me and Greg, they wouldn't know, they didn't do a job that night. We worked,
Right.
and they we didn't believe in that anyway. They deserved it. George Southman, the 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 good Lord and the business both is being good to him, and I'm proud of that for him. He's such a great guy.
Right.
I know him a lot better than I did uh,
Cougar
George,
J.
yeah,
Or
Cougar
yeah.
J,
Yep.
uh, George South, it registered, man, when old Christian away from God looks over and see a man knelt in prayer, knowing what you just left the parking lot doing, it touches you, So I'm thankful to him, man.
Yeah. Let's see. After the Clash win, you ended up going. I guess on the Sunday night show, which I think was main event, if I remember correctly. Picked up on a house show. You ended up taking on Bill Irwin and Al Green. Do you remember working with those two? And you spent most of your time on the suffering on the end of the losses, basically. What was your you and Greg's mindset at that time period? As was it not picking up the way that you kind of figured that it was supposed to, or
Now, I don't even remember the match, man.
no, no,
No, no, I really don't. I have never saw it. I
yeah,
can say that.
yeah.
And you saw it on YouTube?
No, well,
Oh,
yeah, it was on TV, yeah, but it was I believe it was on the Sunday night show, which was main event aired
okay.
6:05 uh
Yeah,
at, at
I remember
on
the
Sunday
show, but
nights. Yeah.
I don't remember. Vaguely remember working Irwin a little bit, but
Yep.
don't remember the situation or when or where or how.
Yeah.
But now I'd like to see it, though, man. You you
When I find it, I'll send it
you
to you.
told me, yeah, do that, yeah.
Yeah,
And I know
absolutely.
you got I know you know how because we've talked several times. But we've
Yeah.
tried, hadn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what did you guys after the situation was like? You guys were, you squashed. You stuck around for a little while under your real name,
I don't
wrestling
know
and
if
stuff.
Greg did or not.
I think I mean, there was a couple times where you guys teamed up together for uh, a short period under your real names. Like Greg was there for a little bit, and I think that if I remember correctly, that let me see, let me look at my notes here. Added, you guys started winning a couple opening matches under your shoot names, and I believe that at one point you might have teamed with Scott Hall. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, well, it was me and Tommy, in a six man with the
okay,
Samoans. I
right,
believe what you're talking about.
right,
But uh, we did that more than one, and I may have tagged with Scott by himself.
right.
Uh,
And when
now
Scott
I
when
should have
Scott
studied
first
it as hard as you did.
Yeah, when Scott first came in, he wasn't really doing much. Kind of did a couple jobs here and there, and
Yeah,
he was just coming off of his AWA run as well.
yeah.
Maybe Florida too. I know he made some Memphis appearances too, but WCW wasn't doing much with him those
They
first
they
like
did, didn't they?
maybe year. Yeah, and then it wasn't until he became the Diamond Stud, which I
Yeah,
think was 1990, that they
he
started
took off,
actually.
boy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
blew up, man.
Exactly. So, what are your memories of any of that? Like, when you guys started shifting over to working your
Yeah,
shoot names, like, and all that stuff.
Scott's a super guy.
Yeah.
I mean, super guy, and No problem whatsoever. Oh Lord, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah.
I must not been as smart as you about that mutant thing you was talking about because it done some crazy stuff. But but that on YouTube as a six man with me and Tommy and Scott and Scott took all the heat that night and except for the finish, they triple teamed me and you know, they didn't give him, like you said, man, when he started flipping the toothpick and saying, yo, I mean, man, he blew up hard, man.
Oh, but he became one of the biggest wrestlers, and to this day, one of the most beloved wrestlers in the history.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw him New Haven Coliseum. I'm going to ask you about New Haven in just a minute. I saw him and Rick Martel in the tournament final for the Intercontinental title
Yeah.
in the New Haven Coliseum, and I got to tell you, man, that place was hot throughout the
I
whole
bet.
thing. So I got to tell you, Rick Martel also fantastic worker as well.
Yeah. What did he, do I know
He
him? Did he
well,
not
he
come to
was
the WCW for a little bit?
in the middle to late 90s. You guys were gone by then, but
Was he?
he did AWA and then he was in WWF for
It
quite some
seems like
time.
our
Yeah.
path, it seemed like our paths crossed though somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very possible. I mean,
But
yeah, I
yeah,
don't.
right.
Yeah.
Well, we're all brothers, so and if you know, that's a lot of brothers out there,
Yeah,
and you get it and they get it, so
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, it's truly a brotherhood. So you don't, you know, you got to accept it for what it is and realize a gimmick's a gimmick and a work's a work, and and treat each other right, and
Absolutely.
should be what life is, but it's not always. But
Yeah, it's a shame, unfortunately, that human beings don't treat each other better. You know what I mean?
hush.
So, do you surprise? I mean, Tony Schiavone actually mentioned on his podcast, he really put over the gimmick. Probably because, and I think that he said because people are still talking about the gimmick today. Are you surprised that people are so into it?
Boy,
35, almost 40 years later,
and
because
man,
there's a lot of you guys actually, somebody wrote an article about you for Wrestle Crap. No offense, but it's like they write a lot of articles on the
hey,
worst
there's no
of
bad
all
ink
time.
in the business, man. There's
Yeah,
no such thing as bad ink. Ink is ink. But
yeah,
am I surprised? Mankind. I mean, a podcast a year ago that Greg did, it just seemed to start the snowball thing,
right.
and and, and I asked one guy, I don't know if it was that, they flew us to New York. We've been a lot of places,
Hmm.
and you should be proud, I guess, but you're only the second guy I've done this with because the other ones didn't really pan out and it wasn't
Right.
nothing I wanted to be involved with. And, uh, but I'm very surprised. I mean, one guy asked me the similar question and he said, why, I said, why now? I mean, we sure not young enough to be even thinking about anything. And he said, well, to be honest with you, we thought y'all was dead. And I thought, well, we are, just about, so yeah,
There's
I'm extremely surprised, man.
a huge nostalgia thing going on in the entire world, not just wrestling, but rock and
Yeah,
roll,
yeah,
pop culture, cartoons, stuff like
yeah.
that. And me, I've been an old school, I've been a wrestling fan. I still watch the
Uh,
wrestling that I grew up on more than I watch the modern product. You know what I mean? I'll sit there and watch 5 hours of NWA Mid Atlantic over, you know what I
yeah,
mean, over Monday Night Raw
yeah. Well,
or
see,
put on something else. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's in my heart. That's what professional wrestling is. And it's more enjoyable. The longevity of the storylines and the more they're deeper than what they are today. Today it's all corporate. There's all sponsorships and
we
all
didn't
sorts of
know
stuff.
step by step by
Right.
step. I mean, we didn't. I don't. That's what I've heard all my life. You script, but I've never seen a script in my life. I couldn't have read it if I did. But
Right.
it's in ring knowing how to wrestle. And knowing what a spot is. But I mean, yeah, sure, opening spot good and finish course. But the rest they wouldn't know step by step instructions, man. I mean, you got it, and it does happen as quickly as that. It clicks one day, and you get it, and you don't. I don't know how they do it today. I don't claim to, but
Uh,
we didn't have a bunch of lawyers sitting around us when we talked about contracts and different situations.
right. Yeah. It was different times for sure.
Oh
That's the
man,
other thing. Yeah. Can I throw some names at you and then you
sure,
can comment on them? Because
lay them on me.
yeah, all right. So I've between matches with between the Ding Dongs and of course with what we just said, and your shoot names as yourself and stuff. You might have been teaming up with Greg or whoever else at this time because this was the I guess some of it might have been that transition period or the
Yeah,
post
the
period. So
couple of different people. They didn't really keep us together a whole
yeah,
lot. And I don't
yeah,
think I thought people may get who we are.
yeah.
But
All
go
right.
ahead.
So I'm gonna ask you a match I came across today. Someone that's gotten some press because of his ill health as of lately. Mike Rotunda.
Oh yeah, yeah. Funny story on that. You know, again, if I'd been a script, I would have knew this, but I didn't know till I saw it on TV that there was a goldfish bowl there, supposed to have $10,000 in it,
Right.
and the winner would get, or I didn't know that existed, or I'd been pointing at it, and getting what little I could get, but Remark, he treated me more than fair, considering. If you'll notice that match, if you look at it again, it's long hair. It's before Ding and Dong. And
Okay.
as you start seeing other enhancement work through other people without as a shoot my name, you will see short hair. And that's when we're doing the gimmick as well. But they didn't want hair sticking out from under it. So that's when you can tell for sure. That's when we swap. But Mike treated me real well that night. And I didn't want to push it, man. Uh, I got some good punches in on him, and I didn't want to push it because like you said, Mike Rotunda. So when we went into the turnbuckle, man, I said knee. I flipped him. I mean, I even called that spot where he killed me, But he was a good guy, uh,
Yeah. Yeah,
good
if he
guy.
wanted to tie you up in knots, he probably could because
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
his legitimate background. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Let's see. Brian Pillman as well.
I will pass.
Okay. Now this one of my all-time favorites, the Great Muda.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wish they could have spoke more. And, it's amazing how many people don't believe that or accepts it. But Muda he was a crazy guy. I mean, you could just little one-liners or something you could tell. He
Yeah.
and a fantastic worker, man. But I mean, he was fresh, man. He was from a different part of this world. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was I can't believe how good my dog has been. And I wish they wouldn't have said that because boy, big brown eyes looked up at me then.
No, we're almost done. We got a few more minutes, and then
Look here, man. I got just in case I brought some snacks out for her. I want to treat you right.
so this is a
But
guy.
oh, ow!
Go.
Oh, she just jumped on my ice pack. Now
Oh
that hurt.
man.
Yeah,
Damn.
boys, get you some boots, some tights, and get on out there, and go ahead and save for these little shock things and all kind of
Right.
therapy, and you'll
Yeah.
you'll need it.
Let's see. This is a guy I always appreciated. You teamed up with him and you went against the Steiners. Now, Mr. Trent Knight. Do you
Yes,
remember?
Trent.
Do you remember working with him at all?
Yeah, I remember working against him.
Okay.
I think he worked Ding a Dong before, and I'm
Yep.
not sure.
The match
Uh,
I came across today, you teamed with him against Ricky
yes,
Scott Steiner. Yep.
against the Steiners.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I think we did. But
Yeah.
see, there's several people they threw me in with just for like a match, just to
Yeah.
fill a spot, But yeah, he was a good guy, good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched him.
I've got no ill feelings or words for any. Man, it's a shame that these major superstars is in the dressing room, right?
Yeah.
People you've admired, when you was running these, you know, outlaw towns, you admired them for years. And when they treated you better than the fans did, that's just crazy, But they were all just super nice guys, and
Yeah.
uh, some of them
Yeah.
had a little bigger heads than others, so but, yeah, just
Yeah.
expected, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. The Italian Stallion. You teamed up with him once.
Yes, yeah. I didn't know him as well.
Hmm.
I think I worked him once too. It seems like, but I think it didn't. He just come down from WWF when that happened.
It's very possible. I think he went back and forth around that time period. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, Good guy. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
worker.
Of course, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, Doom. You had to wrestle them. What was it like? Because they were kind of on top at that time period. They were like really pushing them hard around that time period when you were in there.
Yeah, they had a big push. They was light. They treated you right, man. They was on the spot, and
Yeah.
and like you said, they was trying to. That's what to me, there's difference between an enhancement worker and a job guy.
Right.
And again, I like to think as big as these guys got, we was a part of them getting that big. Uh,
Right.
because you don't look no better than the guy that you got his shoulders on the mat. Simple as that.
Right.
And if he's a wash rag, what have you accomplished?
Right. Yeah.
Good
Uh,
guys.
do you remember going up against Jack Victory and Rip Morgan?
I loved them, man. Loved them
Yeah.
two guys. Uh, I'll be brief. Dalton, Georgia. My cousin, I have to mention him, Roger Sartain. Independent all around this part of the country. I mean, and top. It couldn't be a baby face if he wanted to. I mean, this guy's a heel, and 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 he'll watch us and he'll laugh about it. But he's a heel. You couldn't like him if you wanted to. And uh, I was sitting in the dressing room, and they was there after we all had left WCW. And I kept messing with Jack. He didn't even know it. I was staring at him, and every time Jack looked up, he'd go look back down, tie his boo, whatever. He'd see me looking at him. I'd be staring over at him. And finally, man, it dawned on him. You could see it in his face, and he got it up and he walked over to me, man. Made me feel like a superstar because everybody, we're all marks. If you ain't, you
Yeah.
shouldn't even be in the business. But he came over to me and said, Sartain. I said, yeah, man, I've been messing with you 20 minutes. He thought, I know, man, I was about to whoop you. I thought, yeah, I know that was what I was trying to accomplish. But
I
they were good
actually
guys.
I
Good guys.
actually interviewed Jack probably a year ago, and I got to
Oh,
tell you,
really, man? So
one hell
good.
of a nice guy. Probably one of
Oh,
the nicest people I've ever had the
and talk about
pleasure.
right hand,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Ooh.
And he also had his dog with him. So, but that dog interrupted the show for
I knew I liked him. But
I ended up editing it out. So that's that
so
that that
he doing good.
oh, he's great,
I,
man. He's great, and he had some great stories to talk about his
yeah,
career. And 'cause that's a guy
yeah.
that pretty much went all over the place. And I
They
just
just started doing that gimmick, with
the
the
New Zealand,
boomerang and stuff.
yeah, yeah, the New Zealand militia
Yeah.
or whatever it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was good times right there, man.
Uh, we
But I like
talked,
both them guys, man. They're good guys.
yeah, we talked a little bit about Dwayne Bruce before, but of course, when he came in there, he was teamed up with was it Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker? No, that
Well,
was Dwayne Bruce. That was Dwayne
yeah,
Bruce. James
Dale.
Earl Wright, right? Yeah. Uh,
Well,
and they
yeah,
were the state
Dale.
patrol. Yeah.
Yeah, Dale
Sorry.
Beasley, I believe
Yes.
his name was. But
Correct. Yeah.
uh,
What do you have? Apparently, the records that I found is you suffered a loss to the state patrol, which obviously when they came in, they got a tiny bit of a push. I remember this.
they should have got a huge push. I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying.
but uh,
But then they ended up on the losing end after a while, just every week. You
you
know what
know,
I'm
every
saying?
man, some big newspaper might have been the Time. I mean, some big, huge news article came out talking about the most underrated person was Buddy Lee, and and a fact. I mean, but when they first came out, they came out as Georgia's State Patrol, and
Hmm.
they that little heat came down from the Georgia State Patrol because of that. And then they changed it to State Patrol.
Right.
And uh, Dwayne, in WWE, you can see him on one show or something where he's beat up or something, and he's crawling to the ring. That was great. I'm proud of that boy there, man. He's a good guy too, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dale
Uh,
was a good guy.
yeah. He seemed to. He didn't last that much longer.
Well, see, they did a
In there.
thing in Canada too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it was State Patrol. It was uh, something you know, it might have been State Patrol. I don't remember, but they done a tour up there. You know, it was pretty successful.
Right.
I thought that gimmick was great, though, man.
I
I
loved
just
it. Yeah, I
it's
loved it.
just like
Yeah.
events. You know, if Vince would have had Ding and Dong, I probably wouldn't be talking to you, boy. You hear me? You know, I'd be a big head. But you know, it's just where you at and what you're doing. You know,
Right.
and it's if the right person had the right gimmick at the right time, you know, it's successful. If not, you can make a pillow a superstar. You know, I mean, the Invisible Man's won a lot of matches when you're training. You know, but uh, but yeah, that gimmick could have worked. Should have
Yeah.
worked.
Let's see. Before we talked, you mentioned on the phone before the show started talking about you asked me where I live, and
Yes, sir.
you were talking about that you worked in New Haven, Connecticut. I told you I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Now I'm 20 minutes outside of the city of New Haven,
Okay.
Wallingford, Connecticut. I was just there this morning, and you know, I still go down there. My office is in New Haven, so actually, my office stands behind where the Coliseum was. Now it's just a parking lot. Or no, wait, it was a parking lot, and then they tore the parking lot, and then now it's just I think it's another office building or some crap like that. They did something to it recently. Um, but now my office is directly in front of where the Coliseum was.
Okay.
So tell me about your visit, if you have
Yeah.
any memories of
Oh
the city
yeah,
of New
man.
Haven, because anybody that's come through New Haven, I always try to get an opinion on my
Man,
city. Did you try the pizza? That's
we
my other
rented a
question.
couple of times. You
Yeah,
know, I don't know about TV wise, but we
right,
done New Haven. I mean, I like seeing it, and uh, more than once. You know, and
right,
that parking lot you're talking about is we've probably Tommy Rich, Nick Patrick, me, Greg, that some of that bunch, or Terry Gordy probably rode around it several times trying to find the dang entrance to the building, you know. But because that was really that's a nice place, and it seemed like it was a little fast food place, my McDonald's type deal, uh, right there close, and I remember that New Haven. Me and Greg was sitting in there, and there was some people who was at the matches and we got talking to them, you know, and we said, "What y'all think about?" You know, we mentioned Ding and Dong, you know, and they liked them, believe it or not. And I thought, yeah, okay. We talked to them a little bit longer, you know, and finally, when we left, I think we introduced ourselves and told them, you know, who we were, you know, and of course they didn't believe us probably, but we didn't believe us either, you know, but 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 really nice place, man.
yeah,
I'm
right.
impressed that you even found old boy down here in Alabama this far away.
I'll tell you when I do my research, you know what I mean, try
You
to find
certainly
people.
have.
Yeah, I try. You know, some people I had to, and over the years I've had to, you know, make some connections. I can know somebody that knows somebody, but a lot of time Facebook's my first choice to find somebody. So,
For
so
Mr. Rose, I'm gonna put a bug in his ear, and we'll get him acting right, and you'll be hearing from him, and Buddy Lee too. If you know,
I'd love to. Yeah, yeah.
well,
Um, let's see. What is there
I'm
anything
pretty
else?
important, and I can get this stuff done. So,
Is there anything else that you want to put out there before we close shop? And you know, is
uh,
there any particular things that maybe I missed that you want to
no, just
mention?
y'all wish the style straighten up. God loves us all. Let's quit looking at the ignorance in the world and start looking at the good. And remember, that's just a business and it's a work, and it's all there just to make a living. And just like we can do better. And you bunch of Ooh, that was close one there. Y'all get back to your government job, okay? And get this country going here, and let's act right and treat each other better, and get back to work. You
There you
know.
go. There you go. Richard, I want to thank you so much for
Thank you, my brother.
taking the time to sit here
Oh,
and talk about your wrestling career
oh,
with me today.
I enjoyed the heck out of it.